Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Tuba Player NegativeAE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. I have a couple pieces of bad news. Um, so the first piece of bad news is that my throat hurts again. So it's going to be extremely painful to read this. The second thing is that um, I recorded this already. The only thing is that when I tried to record it, I didn't realize that my computer was so low on memory that another video file would not be able to be made. So I've remedied that. I've taken a lot of things, gotten them off of my hard drive. I'm also probably going to get a new hard drive pretty soon just to have like a backup one. But just know that I am rereading this, which is sad because there's a lot of cool stuff that happens here. I'm really excited to kind of bring you guys along with me. The reactions aren't going to be as huge as I recorded it the first time, which I know sucks. But I think maybe reviewing it will give me more clues as to what's going on. Because the first time I went through this, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But now that I have more time to think about what actually happened, maybe I'll have more theories about what's going on. But without further ado, I only recorded one episode, so I plan on recording up until the point where I stopped, or where I stopped in the recording, where I've previously recorded this. I don't know. I don't know. But let's go. So evening was turning into night. I had to get dinner ready. I had to eat, so I had enough strength to take revenge. This place was far from the town. It would even get isolated in the winter because of the snow. It's not unusual for a household like this to have 2 or 3 refrigerators. There were plenty of groceries left in them. I was glad I didn't have to go grocery shopping. I could hear the chorus of the Higurashi. People often say that the sound of the Higurashi brings back memories, but for me it's the exact opposite. I've only heard I only ever heard the sound of Higurashi in Hinamizawa. Therefore the sound of the Higurashi to me is Hinamizawa. The sound reminded me that I wasn't supposed to be here, that I couldn't be here. That was when I heard the doorbell. Because there was a good distance between the house and the gate, there was both a doorbell and an intercom by the ladder. It had a security camera too. Something as modern as a security camera monitor in this old-fashioned kitchen looked rather strange. I turned on the switch, but nothing happened on the monitor. I tried to check the plug, but there was a bunch of cords going behind the refrigerator, so I couldn't even do that. The doorbell continued to ring while I tried to figure out if the monitor was broken or if I just didn't know how to turn it on. I only felt like answering the door depending on who it was. It'd normally be easiest to pretend to be out, but that wouldn't help me. I was waiting for my enemies to show up. I couldn't just hide myself in that case. The hag was supposed to be sick and in an extremely bad mood. I already sent word out that she didn't want to see anyone. So who could it be? I made up my mind to turn the intercom on. If it was someone unwanted, I could just turn whoever it was away. But I had to act normally so I wouldn't arouse suspicion. I had to act normally.
はい、どちら様でしょう。
こんにちはなのです。
Namu desu. She didn't tell me her name, but I recognized her voice.
リカちゃんか。どうしたの？こんな時間に。
実はお醤油を分けてもらいに来たのですよ。
Soy sauce? I almost screamed, but I controlled myself. I took a moment to think about the situation. Hinamizawa was far from most stores, so sometimes neighbors would share seasoning and stuff with each other. The village sometimes got snowed in during the winter, but the Furude shrine was quite far from this house. It was rather odd for her to come all the way here on her bicycle just to get some soy sauce. Maybe she was just using it as an excuse? Maybe there was something she wanted to talk to me about. That was when I noticed a piece of paper that had been on the refrigerator door next to the intercom. We still have plenty of homemade soy sauce in stock. Feel free to come to the Sonozaki house if you want some. The hag must have given that flyer to everyone. One of our relatives sent her a barrel of soy sauce. If you want some, bring a container. That's what the flyer said. I see. This would explain it. There was a handwritten note on the bottom of the flyer. The soy sauce is in the storage area under the floor. Give them as much as they want. There was a storage area beneath the floor. When I opened it, I saw a barrel of soy sauce alongside a funnel and a ladle. I didn't want Rika to notice anything suspicious at this point, so I decided to share the soy sauce with her.
うん、いいよ。入れるものは持ってきてるの。
お醤油の瓶を持ってきましたのです。
オッケー。
I wonder who's the voice actor for Rika? Does anybody know? I'm probably gonna look it up eventually, but like,
勝手に入ってきていいよ。
it always amazes me how much people can sound like little kids but aren't little kids in
玄関で
Japan.
待ってる。
Like that's a trait that like I see a lot in anime where just like grown ass adults
内側から閉まってて、門が入れないのですよ。
play children and it sounds so correct.
ああ、そうだった。ごめんごめん。今開けに行くよ。待ってて。
People didn't pay much attention to safety around here in Hinamizawa. People didn't think too much about locking the doors. But as someone who's lived in a town, I've always locked everything. To let Rika Furude in, I'd have to go outside.
こんばんはなのですよ。
こんばんは。
See, I said this in the last recording, but I'm gonna say it again because you guys weren't there for it. Fucking gombawa is the craziest word to say. Japanese sounds like so much fun to speak, but I don't know. I just like that word, gombawa. Rika smiled at me. She was holding a huge soy sauce bottle. She acted like I never yelled at her, got violent with her, or made her cry at all today. Or perhaps she came to curry favor thinking that she angered me. I invited Rika to the front door. I told her to wait for a moment and tried to take the bottle. But Rika took her shoes off and walked into the house with the bottle in her hands.
いいよいいよ。私が入れてくるから待ってなよ。
僕も上後でお醤油入れるのは上手になったのですよ。
She looked at me as if begging. I guess she wanted to pour the soy sauce into the bottle herself. I didn't want her to come in the house, but I suppose I didn't want to wait there alone either. If she came to the kitchen with me, I could keep my eyes on her. And so I brought Rika to the kitchen. We walked down the hallway. I only heard my footsteps. I stopped suddenly and turned around to make sure Rika was following me. Rika bumped into me.
ああ、ごめんごめん。
Paranoid Shion. I made sure she was right behind me and started to walk again. Tap, tap, tap. Tip, tip, tip. Tap, tap. Tip, tip. Rika must have been having fun matching her footsteps to mine. Even when I quickly sped up, our footsteps matched perfectly. This is where I was like, that's the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That's crazy. Because that's what happens every time. Like, you keep walking, right? And then you stop. And there's that extra footstep. And it just makes me, it's like, oh, that's such a cool thing to have put on the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Just that she also tries to do that shit. Rika stops suddenly too after taking a step. That also makes me think, if Rika's the one stalking everybody, and she's just really good at fucking hiding because she's so small, and she's the one that actually commits all the shits. Although, Satoko and Rena don't really have anything. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking about Rena because I talk about Rena all the time. When I turned around, Rika smiled at me. Our footsteps matched perfectly, so when I stopped suddenly, I heard her extra step. I've experienced such footsteps before, making me feel uncomfortable. But now, although her footsteps sounded the same as the other ones I had experienced, I saw her when I turned around. That was the difference between them. Huh. So we could see the soy sauce barrel. Whoa. The memo said she can take as much as she wants, but I wasn't sure there was enough left. I crouched down and tried to open the lid of the soy sauce barrel. Even when I crouched down, I could hear Rika's extra step.
うん、まだまだい、ほら、好きなだけ持ってくといい。
Here we go. When I turned around, Rika was very close to me. But, huh? Who was this? I saw Rika, but it wasn't Rika at all. It was like when I switched with my sister. The outside was the same, but the inside was different. Rika have a twin sister? I was confused for a moment. That was when Rika sprayed something from a small bottle into my eyes. I felt a terrible pain in my eyes, and suddenly tears poured out from my nose and started to run. I couldn't stop sneezing either. As I stumbled around covering my face, I then realized I was attacked. I shut my eyes tightly for a moment, then opened them again. Rika was about to grab my hair to drag me down onto the floor. When Rika saw me open my eyes, she sprayed at me again. I shut my eyes to avoid the spray, but my nose still bathed in the substance. Like mace, right? I avoided the pain in my eyes, but the tears, the runny nose, and the sneezing continued. My brain isn't working quickly enough. However, when I finally understood that I'd been attacked by Rika Furude, my brain started to grind into emotion. Rika knocked me on my back and got on top of me. I tried to escape from her by rolling on the kitchen floor. As I rolled, I hit an oven, a huge jar, and destroyed a pile of something on the floor as I fought back. But Rika didn't let go of me. She stayed on top and restrained me. She was sitting on my stomach, and I felt intense pain and pressure. She sure could fight well. I couldn't see anything. Rika had the upper hand, my eyes were shut, and I was in real danger. As I tried to blink, I saw Rika's expression. Didn't know Rika Furude all that well. I only knew her from the few times we met when I went to school as Mion, and from things I've heard from other people. But as far as I knew, there was no way Rika Furude would ever do something like this. This is just impossible. Impossible. No, I can't fill my head with that word. I have to calm down and figure out what to do next. Shit, I'm too much of a mess to even think. I tried to peek at her face again. She still had the spray bottle in one hand. What I didn't expect was the thing in her other hand. Are you ready for this thing? How could I mistake it for anything else? It was definitely a syringe. Okay. So, I'm going to kind of repeat everything that I had said when I was recording this before. Basically, this is interesting because I don't know if Rika's the one committing the side, but there's a common theme of drug. When in the first one, there was a drug to administer the thing, but I thought that was maybe just that episode, that series. But it's appearing again, this syringe with this mysterious liquid inside of it is appearing again, which means it's probably the main method for killing people or having the curse appear. But how would they get their hands on such a drug? Where does it come from? Why is Rika a different person completely? I have no idea. I have no idea. When Rika realized I'd regained my eyesight, she pointed to the spray bottle right at me and let loose with it. I shut my eyes tightly and tried to ignore the pain, but that was when, even though I was blinded, Rika made a miscalculation. She had sprayed at me from such a close distance that she inhaled the substance as well. When I heard Rika sneeze and realized it was my chance. Even if I couldn't see, I knew she was right there. Wow, I'm messing up hard. I hit Rika's face a few times. When I felt Rika's weight shift, I escaped. Then I got my stun gun ready. Rika must have inhaled just a little bit of the spray. She wasn't sneezing anymore and she was glaring at me instead. Rika's expression didn't change, but I was sure she was disappointed that her surprise attack was a failure. Rika flinched just a little, but she was still holding the spray bottle and aiming it at my eyes. She was trying to use the spray first, and then give me the shot. I didn't know what was in that syringe, but it was a clear liquid. It had to be something bad. She wanted to take my eyesight, get on top of me, then give me the shot. If whatever was in the syringe took a while to take effect, I might have the chance to fight back and seriously injure Rika. But Rika's surprise attack told me that just being injected was more than enough. In other words, whatever the effect, it would start to work immediately. Therefore, I wouldn't be able to fight back against her. It would probably either knock me out or kill me. In any case, what I had was equally deadly. My stun gun was very powerful. Just one shot would be all it took. What happened before was proof of its power. Rika knew my stun gun was a lot more powerful than her spray. She was being extremely cautious. I threw a pile of newspapers at her. The pile wasn't tied together, so the newspapers flew all over Rika. I jumped at her immediately after. I shoved my stun gun into her, pulled the trigger. Rika spasmed and fell to the floor. You fool. Hesitating in a fight where a single blow wins. Only amateurs just glare at each other. You don't have a single clue about how advantageous the first strike is when a single blow can decide everything. The spray bottle rolled on the ground. But she still had the syringe. Rika was down, but I couldn't let my guard down either. I kicked her in the side and clambered on top of her. I took the syringe. I held Rika's arm down and gave her the shot. My actions could hardly be called gentle. I injected her violently. I injected everything that was in the syringe. Rika began to convulse. I stood back and watched for what would happen to her body. Of course, I still had my guard up. While I assumed that the drug would incapacitate her immediately, I didn't know exactly what kind of reaction she would have. After a few more convulsions, Rika unsteadily got to her feet. It's ridiculous. How could she even stand? I looked at my stun gun. Damn it. The power was on the lowest setting. Maybe it had readjusted when we were rolling around on the floor. I changed the setting to maximum. Rika turned pale and started sweating all over. I didn't know its exact effects, but if Rika had been given me the shot, I'd be the one experiencing her symptoms. She looked really sick, so obviously she must have been feeling awful too. She couldn't even focus. She was very wobbly and had her hand on the wall. She'd lost her balance, and it must have been hard for her to even stand. She didn't look so brave anymore. Rika wobbled and moaned as if she was about to throw up. This makes me, I don't know if she's just kind of like, if these are just words or if she's trying to say stuff. Because, like, obviously these are struggle words, right? But then what the fuck is Hanyu, Hanyu? Like, is she calling to somebody? Like a demon, perhaps? I don't know. Rika looked scary as she moaned and wobbled, but at the same time she looked kind of funny too. Certainly she hadn't dreamed she'd be getting the shot herself. As the man sows, so shall he reap. That's what you get.
実に滑稽だね。目が回ってるのかな。あんたがあとどのくらいでくたばるのか。ああ、でもそれじゃ拷問する楽しみがなくなるね。私さ、あんたにはあの釘台を使ってやろうと。あんたが自分の薬で死ぬのが早いか。両手樹脂に釘をたらふく食らって痛みでいく。よし、決めた。んじゃ会場を移そうか。場所を移すためにちょいと眠っててもらうよ。
I walked up to Rika, my stun gun making popping sounds. When Rika saw the sparks from the stun gun, she moved to grab a huge kitchen knife.
まだその程度のそうでなくちゃ面白くないよ。あんたにはいろいろ聞きたいことがあるしね。
I kid you not. At this point, my reaction was She's probably gonna kill herself, right?
無駄に抵抗しない方がいろいろと辛くないよ。
She's been injected with the drug. She's trying to fight back. The person that you were trying to kill is fighting back now. You know you have no chance. You're like cornered.
最も抵抗しなくても辛い目に遭う。
Why would you grab a knife to deal with a stun gun? You wouldn't. You would grab the knife to kill yourself.
残念だけど、あんたの誘いは断るわ。この冷血女が。
What she said wasn't anything I'd expect to hear from the Rika I knew. But I didn't hesitate. I had the advantage, so I didn't need to worry. Besides, this was coming from the last survivor of the Furude family. One of the 3 families. That sudden change somehow felt natural.
あんたらの御三家の血塗られた歴史にそれをフルデ家通し、ちょっと光栄だね。んで、そのフラフラな体で包丁一本立っているだけでも限界なくせに。そうね、あんたの言う通り、お前なんかに召し取られて殺されるくらいなら。悪いけど。
And then this statement just confirmed my thoughts.
退場させてもらうわ。退場？できるならしてごらんよ。
It was clear who held the advantage here. But despite that, an odd thrill filled both of us. We lost our minds wasn't a fitting phrase for the people of Hinamizawa. It was a feeling of release, when modern demons could stop pretending to be human. Yes, this was a mad banquet of the demons, with the savoring blood and devouring of flesh. Whose blood is close, the Furude family and the head of the Sonozaki family, the old families whose blood is closest to the madness of the demons. I stood in front of the hallway as to block her escape route. The windows had grates and the door had a safety chain on it. If she turned around, I'd hit her with my stun gun. In this situation, what did Rika Furude mean by taking her leave? Rika got her knife ready. I expected her to aim at my stomach when she attacked, so I took a stance with my stun gun ready at hand. Rika, however, suddenly turned around. I carefully watched to see what her next move would be. Rika put the handle of the knife to the wall and held it in place. What was she doing?
じゃあね。さよなら、冷血女。
じゃあね。
お前なんかに殺されてたまるか。
Rika reared her head back and slammed her throat against the knife on the wall. Fucking crazy. Her blood splattered everywhere. Rika bent backwards repeatedly and let the knife slash at her throat. Again and again. Her neck and chest were dyed red. I'd always thought blood was darker. But her blood wasn't dark. It was so bright. I must have been confused, but it looked pretty. After doing this several times, Rika turned around. Her eyes were wide open. She didn't look like she was from this world. Her face looked like something both living and dead, both real and artificial. It was very scary, eerie, and above all else, pale. Her face looked unearthly. It was a very appropriate face for a demon. I didn't have a mirror, so I couldn't tell, but I was sure I looked exactly like her. Rika continued to violently slash her throat. It reminded me of someone trying to break a huge piece of ice with an ice pick. At this point, I was like, why would you slash your throat? Wouldn't that be the worst way to die? Wouldn't you want to stab your head or something, or like go through your brain? That way, at least you would cut off circulation. I guess it's harder to go through your brain because there's like a skull there. You could go through like the back of your neck into your head. Cut your brain in half. It's exactly what Rika looked like. The white chips of ice coolly flying through the air. What I saw before me was a beautiful sight. Every time Rika struck her throat, tiny drops of red blood splattered with the boring white world around her. It was like a dance. A dedication dance by the final head of the Furude family. The demon's last dance of dedication to Oyashiro-sama. Upon seeing that literally blood-curdling dance, I let out a fierce roar. I had no reason to do so. I was howling like an animal. We were like animals trying to kill each other, both getting covered in blood. And inevitably, as one convulsed in a pool of that blood, the other threw its head back and howled. My body shivered with the joy I felt inside me. This was death, the most final of judgments, and it was right before me. The demons howled, screamed, roared. The roars faded and my voice started to change from the voice of a demon back to that of a human. As a demon I roared, but as a human I sneered. Rika was covered from her neck down. Her blood was pouring out, making little noise. Rika was staring into my eyes. I stared back at her. I wasn't sure they were still eyes, though. They were no longer human eyes, but the eyes of the dead. Rika. No. Rika's corpse vomited blood from her mouth and nose and smiled. Then she dropped the knife. She stuck her hands out and turned her palms upward. Her wriggling fingers reminded me of an insect's legs. Those fingers reached for her own throat. I'd never seen anything like it. Never seen anybody do this before. Because Rika was scratching her own throat. She was ripping her own throat apart. Okay, so this is interesting because what I had assumed in the first one, which was that the drug would be the same drug that was injected into Tomitaki-san to make him rip out his own throat, is correct. It just makes sense that the syringe that is present in both the first episode when I get captured and this episode here, in one the syringe doesn't get injected and in the other it does. Well, no, it does get injected. We do see me rip out my own throat in the first one, right? Isn't that what happens to Keiichi? It's that syringe that does it. I thought maybe it was Oyashiro-sama or something like that, but no, it's definitely the syringe that makes you claw apart your own throat. And it looks like it makes you also stab your own throat, and I don't know if that's necessarily like what's going on, or like, I don't know. I have no idea. It's just interesting that it's a drug, because that like opens up the possibility for EDA, but I don't know if that's the case because EDA is such a like, I don't know. I guess EDA is a wild card, so it could be anything. It also makes a little bit of sense that they would... I'm trying to think back to the first one. Her fingers are on the biggest tear. Rika smiled. At least that's what I would have called it if she were alive. She ripped open the tear in one tug. Upon hearing my scream, Rika died, fell on her face, into the pool of blood. That was it. She didn't get up again to show me her throat. I stepped back from Rika Furude's body and bumped into the wall in the hallway. Brah! I roared again in admiration of the ritual dance of dedication of the head of the Furude family. Joy ran through my body, and my blood rushed through my veins. And then I realized I disposed the heads of the three families, the core of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Everything was finally exposed. The curse of Oyashiro-sama and its masterminds were all exposed. I disposed of the leaders of the three families who all killed Satoshi-kun. The head of the Sonosaki family died of a heart attack. She was at the bottom of the well, along with a wheelchair. I apprehended the head of the Kimiyoshi family. He continued to tiptoe until he died. The head of the Furude family died in a way that was perfect for the final head of the three families of Onagafuchi. I did it. I accomplished my mission. I defeated all of the masterminds who killed Satoshi-kun with the curse. Every one. Satoshi-kun, you were powerless. You didn't have the means to fight back. Those evil people simply sneered while they let you die. After making you as member of the cursed Hojo family, I will never ever forgive them. They believed you deserved to die because you were one of the Hojos. As long as it was done by the curse of Oyashiro-sama, they didn't care how you died or how you were killed. I will never forgive those people for creating this world. What could I have done to save you, Satoshi-kun? I couldn't save you. Shion Sonozaki couldn't do anything else at the time. If I was Mion, not Shion. If I was Mion that day, I could have saved you. Mion could have saved you. That's right. I remember now. Shion. She said she wanted to eat red snapper sashimi that day. I was supposed to eat that. But Shion pouted and cried. That's why I let her switch, just for that night. Now, this was pointed out to me in the last episode by Insult to Injury, and I didn't really understand when I was reading it the first time, but they did mention this before. Shion and Mion are switched, and I kind of called that a little bit. Granted, I called it as it was building up to its announcement, but I don't know. That's like someone shooting a basketball and then like mid-flight of the basketball being like, oh, yeah, no, that's going in. Because obviously the trajectory, I don't know. Shion was never treated well, so I felt bad. That was it. I was being a good sister. That was it. When morning came, the world had turned upside down, and it had remained so until today. We weren't twins anymore. The one with the demon was Mion, and the one without the demon was Shion. What was that supposed to mean? Wait, Mom, listen. I'm Mion, not her. You can tell us apart. Right, Mom? Look, can't you tell I'm Mion? Come on, everyone. Tell me I'm Mion. I'm Mion. Don't call me Shion. I'm Mion, I am.
その時、あんたは知っていたんだ。あの夜、親類たちが集まって何をするのか、ただの宴会じゃないって知っていたんだ。知らない、本当に知らなかった。はあ？なわけないでしょ。あんた、あの日だけ嫌にしつこく絡んできたじゃない。タイの刺身なんて食べたことない。食べてみたい。いつもミオンばかりずる。普段ならおとなしく納得するくせに、あの日だけ必要に。知らないの、本当に知らなかったの。あんな恐ろしいことになるなんて思ってたら絶対に言わなかった。はっ、どうだか。あんたはいつも妬んでたじゃない。だから私が気を利かせてたまに入れ替わってあげてた。あんたはそれに満足していなかった。より一層妬んでいったんだ。そしてあの夜の意味を自分だけ知り、私から奪ったんだ。ミオンを奪ったんだ。ミオンを返せ。私がミオンなんだ。私がその先ミオン。お前はシオンなんだよ、シオン。ミオンを語るな、偽物が。
I kicked the bars of the cell repeatedly while I roared. Compared to my roar, the metallic noise of the bars sounded like a cry of a little puppy. Although I do think I did say, back when I was Akasaka, I was like, it's hard to tell with the sisters because having two identical sisters means that they could put the two sisters anywhere they wanted. They could switch them around and you would have no idea. So I thought that maybe they were like together in on it and they were switching around with each other. But this is more, they switched involuntarily and now they're different people. I am Mion Sonozaki. I gathered my hair and put it in the ponytail with the yellow band that Mion used all the time. Since I didn't feel the hair on my neck, I felt like I could think more clearly now. The two Mions looked at each other through the iron bars. According to our sibling rules, that was never to happen. Yes. There was only one Mion and one Shion. There could never be two of either at the same time.
髪をほどけシオン。ミオンは私だ。ミオンはここにいる。お前がミオンじゃない。だから語るな、二度と私を語るな。聞こ こえているのか。聞こえているなら返事をしろ。私に返事を届かせろ。シオン。
I took myself back on this day. Shion admitted she was Shion.
すごいよ。体全体、頭の回転が優れた気がする。そうだよ。ミオンは万能なミソカスのシオンとは違う。落ちこぼれのくせに下手なミオンのふり、わかるでしょあんたになら。シオン。はい。おね。
Shion called me sis, and so I was Mion. Ah, the demon who had been asleep deep inside of me was finally allowed to wake up. The demon roared, and my whole body shivered to express its joy.
あんたには罪がある。あんたは今までミオンだ。その崎家の鬼を継ぎミオンという強い立場がありながら、サトシ君を救うための100億の瞬間があったはずなのに、私は許さない。お前を許さない。お前が私を奪いサトシ君を殺したことを私は絶対に許さない。
Shion was shaking on the other side of the
お前を
bars.
殺すだろう。絶対に殺す。サトシ君の胸に見合う殺し方をしてやる。お前を一番残酷に殺す方法が何なのか。シオン、私がそれを思いつくまでのわずかな日々をいつ殺されるのか。簡単には殺さない。むごたらしく殺す。
You know, I don't necessarily feel bad for the new Shion, you know? Like, from what I understand, they're both assholes. So, it's not like Mion...
サトシ君と同じ井戸に放り投げてやる。そしてサトシ君にあの世で謝ってこい。
If this didn't happen, Mion would continue being the head and being retarded. It wasn't like she wasn't evil. The Shion that's in jail right now. She was totally evil. She was working for the hag, and she just sat idly by. Although there was like hint of humanity in her when she was like trying to like protect her sister. Like I'll give her that. The head of the Sonozaki family was like kind of sticking her neck out for her sister a little bit. And while she did not save Satoshi-kun, it's not like... It's not like Mion or the Shion behind the bars is free of sin. As well as Shion. Like, they're both stupid. And then, it pretty much, ever since I knew that Mion, or the Shion, it's hard to talk about the two now that they're switched. But the one in the jail, once the one was put in jail, I was like, okay, so this is how the story is going to play out. And it's played out pretty much exactly to how I thought it was, except for that part with Rika that was really unexpected. I have no idea. I thought she was just going to murder Rika because she didn't do anything to stop Satoshi. I didn't want to answer, but maybe I should. I should answer and talk to whoever it was.
はい、園崎です。
いつもお世話になってるでございます。北条と申しますですわ。
So, if we remember back to the second one, this should come as no surprise. Satoko also dies. Somehow. Satoko also is dead in the second one. And I guess we gonna learn, maybe? I was surprised to hear the Hojo name, but I realized right away that it was Satoko.
サトコ、どうしたの？
夜分遅くに申し訳ありませんわね。うちのリカがお邪魔してませんこと？
Yes. Ever since Satoko Hojo was abandoned, she'd been living with Rika Furude. Of course, she'd get suspicious when Rika hadn't returned yet.
来てるよ。
あら、まだお邪魔してますの？もう夕飯の時間ですのに。
ねえサトコ、実はね、今日さ、ちょいとおかずを作りすぎちゃってね。リカちゃんにも夕食を振る舞ってるんだよ。
そうなんでございますの？
サトコも来なよ。サトコの分もあるからさ。リカちゃんはもう食べてるよ。
もうリカったら。わかりましたわ。ちょっと片付けをしてから参りますわね。では、ごめんあそばせ。
うん。待ってるからね。じゃ。
And I think that's the split. Yeah, that's the split. It's interesting because I didn't expect how Rika was going to die. So I was excited to kind of see how Satoko would die as well. But you know what's weird? Is we'll get into it. I'll show you.
圭一、さっきから呼んでるぞ。電話だ。園崎さんから。園崎さんってどっち？姉？妹？そんなのは知らん。自分で出て聞きなさい。もしもし、ミオンか？シオンか？
私です。シオンです。こんばんは。
Gombawa.
シオン。
That's such a cool word. I want to speak Japanese just so I can say that word.
つい興奮して。
Gombawa. Shion, sorry about last night. I gotta run it. He must have been worried about how I hung up the phone so suddenly
私
last
た
night.
ちは運命共同、互いの無事の確認が自分たちの。
ああ、
だから私たちは高野さんたちみたいな死に方をしないために。ではもう怒らないで聞いてく。
ああ、大丈夫だ。
Ichi agreed to be quiet. So this is pretty much the same phone conversation that you hear in the second one. I believe this is right before Keiichi knows about how Shion is involved with everything. Or Mion is involved with everything, and that Shion is actually, like, imprisoned. Or the person that he thinks is Mion, but is not actually Mion, who is Shion now in the cage. I don't know. That was ironic, of course, that while I was warming him, I was also the one who made sure the curse would fall upon
互い
him.
に何か気になることがあったら報告。互いの持つ小さな断片を合わせていけば、ひょっとすると過去の連続事件を解決する鍵が見つかるかもしれません。
What's weird is in the second one, I believe I was like, oh, we finally have answers. This is where all the people come to get murdered and killed, is in this basement. But we still don't have answers, really,
確かにそうだ。
now that we know this story.
ではまずは言い出し。最近誰かに監視されているような気がします。
I was making this up. I just wanted him to realize how urgent the
と言
situation
って
was.
も気のせいかも。でも一応報告。今は気のせいだと思っていますけど、これは気のせいじゃないのか。
少なくとも俺の方は大丈夫だ。
It seemed like nothing had happened to Keiichi today, at least. Now that the heads of the three families were all gone, it was impossible to. The curse system had been destroyed entirely. If that was the case, Keiichi might not be attacked after all. But if there was someone who did want to attack him, that meant part of the system was still alive. In other words, my mission wouldn't be accomplished just yet. Keiichi is like a litmus test in this situation. I'd know whether or not all my enemies were gone, depending on if Keiichi got bitten. He is a very useful man. After that, I went along with what Keiichi had said. I made sure that he was fearful of Mion, as well as all of the three families. I explained to him the possibility that the whole village was involved, and that the curse system of Oyashiro-sama might be some sort of system. Then I remembered Shion wouldn't know too much about the disappearance of the mayor, so I continued.
私もついさっき君吉のおじいちゃんが行方不。
村長さんのことか。なんだシオン、聞いてないのか？
何も知らないです。お父さんが電話でそう話して。
ああ、実はな、ゆうべ会合の後、家に帰って村中で探したみたいだけど、まだ見つかったって話は警察も探してるはずなんだけど。
なんでそんな大事な話を先にしてくれなかったんですか？
悪い。もう知ってると駆けつきなんかなかった。
ケイちゃん、私どうしよう。
どうした？話せよ。俺たちの間で隠し事はなし。
ごめん。隠すつもりはなく、ちょっと言うのが前後したっていうか。
俺たちは仲間だろ。怒ったりしないから。
私、君吉のおじいちゃんに打ち明けたんです。
君吉のじいさんってのはシオンにとって相談できる。
はい、私のこと。小さい子、私いつも意地悪なことをしてたのに、私の言うことは何でも本当に優しい人だった。
落ち着けよシオン。別に死んでしまったわけじゃない。そんな簡単に諦めるなよ。
Keiichi tried to make me feel better. But he had no idea what was actually going on. It really made me laugh.
村長さんに、私あの晩最後殿に忍び、誰かにそれを見られてて。
村長さんは高野さんたちが。
はい、知っていました。あの二人が お社様のたたりで死んだから、本当に率直に言いました。
あ、それで
君吉のおじいちゃん、そしてにっこり笑って、本当に笑いながら任せなさいって。
I actually got a little sad while saying that. Uncle Kimiyoshi had been so reliable. I was so happy that when he said he would protect Shion. I was truly happy. If only he hadn't said anything to insult Satoshi-kun.
私のせいです。私が。
よせよシオン。シオンのせいじゃない。
いいえ、私のせい。私が君吉のおじいちゃんが。だから殺されてしまったに違いないんです。だって打ち明けてすぐなんですよ。打ち明けて大丈夫って言ってくれたその晩に消えてしまった。
It was such a strange feeling. I wasn't upset at all. But as I pretended to be upset and muttered words of prayer for Kimiyoshi's safety, I started to feel that emotion growing inside me. I was only pretending to be distressed to fool Keiichi, yet the emotion I feigned began welling up inside me, like I was being consumed by that emotion. So the words coming from my mouth weren't words I intentionally said. They were words that consuming emotion forced me to say. It was like someone else inside of me was doing the talking instead, and I was just watching that someone talk from a short distance away.
話すんじゃなかった。これは全部私たち4人のトガだったはず。他人に話してはいけないことだったんです。話したから殺されてしまった。知ったから殺されてしまった。打ち明けたから殺されてしまった。
おい待てよ。そんなやつなら打ち明けた村長を殺す前にお前から先に殺すに順番が違うよ。殺されるなら他のやつらが先に死んだりするものか。
順番はあります。私たちを一番最後に殺す。
なんだって。
人思いに殺さないで、親しい人たちから順々に殺していって、散々悲しい思いをさせた後に殺す。そういう狙いに違いないんです。
What I just said scared even me. Killing our loved ones first to harm us emotionally, and then only then kill us at the height of our suffering. Whoa. I felt something crawling up my spine. That's awesome. It's an awesome idea. I must not be human anymore. I really am a demon. A human could never think of such cruel things. That would be one incredible hell. Your close friends dying one at a time after being tortured. And after all that, you yourself get killed. What a great way to destroy someone's life. Why was I getting so excited about this? Because I could get going with that plan right away.
リカちゃんだ。
え、今なんて言ったんですか？
俺も実は打ち明けたんだ。リカちゃんに今日。
リカちゃんってリカちゃまのこと？古出神社のリカちゃま？
そうだよ、リカちゃんだよ。俺もどうしようもなく不安で打ち明けたんだ。リカちゃんに。
そうしたら
猫さんの心配しすぎな僕がきっとなんて。リカちゃんはそう言って。ごめんシオン。俺ちょっと
はい、そんなに心配です。安否を確認してみてください。
ああ、そうさせてもらう。
また明日もこのくらいの時間に連絡します。それをもって私の安否確認としてください。
分かった、待ってる。じゃあな、すまん、切るぞ。
Keiichi hung up roughly. So this is the point where Keiichi goes and calls Rena, right? And Rena's like, "Oh yeah, we need to go." I'm like, that's what happens. But then doesn't Rena contacts Mion. So that's what's happening here. And then Mion comes and's like, "Oh, if this is a joke, blah blah blah." It's following the second story exactly. Which, well, all except for that one instance of the bikes being knocked down. It follows it exactly. Which is weird, because it's very parallel. I'm trying to think. That does happen in the second one, yeah. The house was, for the moment, taken care of. Struggle helplessly, run all over the village to see if the curse. Go ahead and see if my enemies are still around. Laugh for a while, then calm down. I've already gotten rid of the bicycles and shoes belonging to Rika and Satoko. My house was, for the moment, taken care of. I could expect Keiichi to run around in a panic, to ask for help for someone, and then ultimately come to Mion. More than likely, the youth group would end up looking for Rika like they did with the mayor. I'd probably have to endure another long night again, knowing nobody would find her. I decided to wait until the phone rang. I killed time by watching TV until it did.
Kei-chan, もし冗談だったらかなり
I'm
怒
gonna
る
get
よ。
really mad if this is a joke. If it is a joke, blah blah
兄
blah.
ちゃん、本当に冗談だったなら、だって冗談なんだから。私たちはそれが
そうだね。機嫌の悪そうなことを言ってごめん。
This is the second one was the one where Rena was actually really nice to us the entire time. Which is really weird. Rena has consistently been, in every other chapter, a scary piece of shit. But in the second chapter, it was very interesting. Also, I just noticed this just now, but why does Rena have like an opening here? That's weird. Like, that's a weird place to have an opening. You would think maybe on the side would be a better opening. Or is she pulling her is she pulling her dress up with her hand? That's also odd. Why would you be doing that? How should I put it? I was at a loss for how to explain. What does the old model look like? Oh, it's because the old model had like a split there. Interesting. Whoa. L switches the language. That's cool. I was not aware of that hotkey. That's awesome. I found a good example. When I was little, I always wanted to play tennis. Oh yeah, so let me go back because this is important. While she looked quiet, I could felt that she could be very terrifying under her skin. I had no basis for that impression, but I just didn't like her. I disliked her ever since that rainy day at the bus stop. It wasn't that we didn't get along, though. How should I put it? I was at a loss for how to explain. Ah, that was it. I found a good example. When I was little, I always wanted to play tennis. I had my relatives take me to a tennis court, and they praised my skill. I was doing nothing more than hitting a ball with a racket. But they told me I was talented, and that made me happy. When I went to school, I told my classmates I played tennis, and they told me I was talented too. Then, one of my classmates, who was usually very quiet, said she also played tennis. And not only did she play, but she took lessons. Although I'd bragged about my serve, I was no match for her. I felt lonely and insulted that everyone was paying attention to her and not me. She was usually very quiet. But suddenly I realized she knew more and had a lot more experience than me. Rena at the bus stop was just like that. I thought of myself as a demon now. I'd awakened part of me that was half human and half demon, the part that lived in Onagafuchi village. In fact, I'd already stopped being in a world where I'd already stepped into a world where normal humans couldn't go. I'd already surpassed my human limits. I generally thought of myself as a superior being, having transcended the realm of mortals. But when my eyes met with Rena Ryugu's, I felt what I did long ago with tennis. Why? Why did I feel that way with Rena? I heard that in the animal world during battle, animals glare at each other to display their strength. Only humans punch or kick each other to feel superiority or inferiority. Most animals can tell just by glaring at each other. In that case, could it be the same with Rena?
兄ちゃんだ。
ああー、ごめん。ほらさ、昨日から寝不足で。
Ichi climbed a ladder and tried to peek into the window on the second floor where Rika and Satoko had lived. It was my job to hold down the ladder. Rena cautioned me to hold onto it tightly.
兄ちゃん、私念のため本宅の方もすぐ戻るから。
ごめん。よろしく。
Yoroshiku. So many fun words to say in Japanese. Yoroshiku. When I looked up, I saw Keiichi trying to open a window, but all of them were
本
locked.
宅ってなんだ？
Keiichi asked me from the top
フ
of the
ルデ家
ladder.
の本当の家だよ。両親が亡くなって以来ずっと
あ、そうか。リカちゃんのご両親って。
聡子も親はいないよ。お社様のたたりってことで両親が崖から落っこちてね。お兄さんだったサトシ君も。
サトシって前に聞いた名前だな。
He'd heard that name before. I felt anger growing inside of me. Don't you know whose desk you're using every day? You act as if it belongs to you. You drop food on it while eating lunch. You drool on it while taking a nap. Don't you know who it really belongs to? Why am I acting this way? I'm Mion. Satoshi-kun doesn't even exist anymore. He was demoned away, and it's hardly Keiichi's fault that he didn't know. It really isn't his fault.
聡子はリカちゃん互いに身寄りのない一人ぼっち助け合ってね。
本宅って言ったか。そっちで暮らした方が楽。
初めはそうしでも両親を思い出すから辛いって言って。
After everyone in Satoko's family died, she started living with Rika. It only made sense. Satoko and Rika were best friends. They didn't care about the Hojo family or Furude family. They'd been best friends since before the damn conflict. Reason why the curse never fell upon Satoko. Rika Furude probably had a lot to do with it. That made more sense than anything else, at least. Satoko was pardoned from the curse of the Hojo family, all thanks to Rika Furude's arrangements. Satoko had never been a victim on the night of Watanagashi. According to the curse system I'd uncovered, the last survivor of the Hojo family is still living in Hinamizawa, could be the perfect target for this year's curse. Therefore, whoever was responsible for executing the curse must have tried to take her life. However, nothing happened to her, proving that Satoko had escaped from the curse. That was really and truly infuriating. She might have been the head of the Furude family, but I still couldn't accept that such a little girl had enough power to protect her best friend. Mion. No, actually Shion. Shion must have had the same power then. Just like Rika protected Satoko, Shion could have protected Satoshi. Damn it.
リカちゃんもサトコも大変なんだな。
呪われてるんだよ。
ミオン、お前今なんて言った？
呪われて。
ミオン、お前なんて顔してんだよ。
This is all a
王
repeat
女聡
from
子はね、
the last one.
お社様のたたりを一身に受けた呪われた子なの。
I can't accept that Satoko was pardoned from the curse, although she was a member of the cursed Yojo family. She was one of the cursed Hojos. Satoshi-kun wasn't pardoned, but Satoko was. She was cursed, but she got away. She escaped the curse, but Satoshi didn't. I can't accept that. In fact, Satoko should have been the one to be cursed the most. She cornered Satoshi-kun physically and emotionally. That was why things got weirder and weirder, and in the end, everything went crazy. When I think back on it, it was Satoko who I hated most of all. She cornered Satoshi-kun. This I don't get. What the fuck is that? I don't know. And as a result, Satoshi-kun disappeared. She caused it. If only she hadn't been there. Just as Rika and Satoko lived happily, maybe there had been a happy future for me too. Maybe Satoshi-kun and I could have started our lives together in Okinomiya. Yes, if I looked at both the beginning and end, it's so obvious. Satoko's existence caused everything. Satoshi-kun had to kill his aunt because of Satoko, and the three families used that need to create the curse, and then they killed him. The police never convinced that he ran away, but he never do that. He was the type of person who always did his best at everything, all by himself. He was doing the very best he could for his only sister, and yet he was forced to vanish. He worked so hard for Satoko. Though he was living just for her, he was erased. Poor Satoshi-kun. He was so underappreciated. The girl knew no gratitude. She was cursed. If you got near her, you'd meet the same fate. You'd be cursed to die or disappear. That was really it. She was the main cause behind it all. She wormed her way into Rika Furude's good graces, and that was why the curse fell upon Satoshi-kun. She should have died first. Then Satoshi-kun would be still alive. If he was alive, I could have done something for him. Also, something I don't get, or that I didn't get here, is that what happened? Like, Mion or Shion was like, I guess Mion, the Mion that is now, had talked to Satoko and was like, "Hey, come on over. We still have extra dinner." What the fuck happened to that? Did they just imply that she's dead? Curse of Oyashiro-sama. Rika Furude, the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, was dead. The reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama had died. There was no more God in Hinamizawa to deliver the curse. I am the one who has to deliver it now. I am Minon Sonozaki, the head of the Sonozaki family, one of the three families of the Gonogafuchi, and now that all heads of the three families are gone, there is nobody to surpass me. I know we're at an hour. The one thing that I will say is that we've gotten a little bit farther than this, and it's not too much farther, so I'm going to continue. It should be just a couple minutes longer before we get to the end of where I had originally gotten with the previous recording that got fucked. I have become Oyashiro-sama. I felt hot bubbles bubbling deep inside of me. It's because I've been talking a lot more about what I think in this, just because I've read this before, than the first time. Calm down, Mion. You can't tell what you're thinking. Calm down. At that point, I heard footsteps coming closer. I saw 4 or 5 adults accompanied by Rena rushing towards us with flashlights in their hands. One of them opened the lock on the cabin door and we all went inside. Of course, there was nobody there. Satoko and Rika lived alone. I doubted Satoko would have left a note saying she would go over to the Sonosaki house when Rika was there already. But it wouldn't be fun if she had. Because of that, I hurried into the room ahead of Rena to make sure there was nothing left behind. The rumor of Rika and Satoko's disappearance around the village spread around the village quickly. More and more villagers gathered at the Furude shrine. Acting in place of the head Sonosaki family, I commanded them to search the village. The villagers nodded and scattered. How long had it been since I was truly Mion? I felt so pleased that my body was almost numb, or almost went numb. Lots of villagers went in and out of the shrine. They yelled at each other that she was nowhere to be found. Some suggested other places to look, and they all left. They made a lot of noise with their comings and goings. The members of the Women's Association brought out huge pots and gas cookers from the storage and got ready to cook for the men. That was when I noticed Keiichi unsteadily walking towards a copse of dead trees. What was he thinking? How stupid of him to be alone on a night like this. If a person responsible for executing the curse was nearby, he wouldn't come back safely.
お茶が池の方もぐるっとさ池の中も照らしたけど明るくならないとわかん。
ありがとうございます。婦人部の皆さんがお味噌汁を作って。
ミオンちゃん、あの二人って自転車どこに止めてたん？
さあ、多分境内の階段の下じゃない。まさかあの階段を担いで
ないんだよね。どこかに
自転車で遊びに行ったなら町か。
だとするとひなそういえばリカちゃまがいなくなった。
ああ、ケイちゃんだ。急に虫が知らせ。
前原屋敷の。
そういえば前原家は来てないのか。この
前原家は町会未加入だから青年団の連絡
なあ、すったらんしょうがな。俺入ったろ町会。ああ、あれさね、連絡も新年に作ったきりやんね。途中から越してきたから乗ってない。
前原のせがれさんの
第一発見者が一等怪しい言うやんね。そのせがれはど
さっき松林の方にフラフラ行くの誰か呼んでくる？
Conveniently, I saw Keiichi and Rena walking back toward us.
ケイちゃん、どこ行ってた？ケイちゃんまでいなくなったのかと心配したよ。
すまん。
It looked like nothing had happened to Keiichi. If so, that's fine. It means I took care of all of my enemies.
おやおやおや、おいしい匂いが漂ってくると思ったら、これはぜひご評判に預かりたいですね。
In before this guy causes some problems. Okay, so that's where I stopped in the previous recording. That's the end of me knowing what's going on. I've been pretty kept in the dark with this series. I mean, besides this episode where my recording failed the first time, was a lot of stuff that I'm ending the episode, by the way. So if you guys want to click off, it's already like really late. You can go. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm just gonna talk for a little bit. I've been pretty in the dark with. It's an interesting situation because even with Steins Gate, I was kind of spoiled a little bit as far as like, oh, sometimes I would like see something while I was making the thumbnail or something. Like, oh, okay, that's probably gonna happen here. But in this one, I've been kept pretty in the dark, just because I've been using assets from the game itself. So it's interesting to kind of go through a story and have no idea what's going on at all. But I do think that we still don't have all the answers. I mean, obviously, we're going to learn a lot about how the ending of this game goes, because we're pretty close to the end. We're in the latter half of the second. The reason I'm calling this the second chapter is because this is like second chapter part 2, because it's kind of explaining all the gaps in the story that we didn't get in chapter 2. In chapter 5, I believe this is. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one when I don't know what's going on, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out, guys.